So I'm sitting here reminiscing, thinking about I guess a day that kind of changed my life. I guess a little bit. It was the Monday after the helicopter crashes the helicopter's being shot down in Mogadishu. Blackhawk Down. As a kid, I was fascinated by the news. I used to watch the news like religiously. Like every morning, I would get up and I'd watch. 5 or 10 minutes before I went to school of the news. CNN was brand new and it was exciting and all that, and Bernard Shaw, and then you had Brian Gumbel on the Today Show on NBC. So every morning I would get up and I'd watch a little bit of the news. This one particular morning, 2 American Blackhawk helicopters had been shot down, and American service members, which I was a fanboy of military since I was like 5 years old, had been shot down in Somalia, in Africa, and that they were wounded, dead, and even missing. And then they showed the bodies of Shugart and Gordon being dragged through the streets and beaten with shoes and all that, and I'm just like, wow, that's horrible. What type of people would even do this? Anyway, went to school that morning, and it was regular. It was a Monday, and I remember being in class, sitting next to my buddy Perez Warren. Which now that I think about it, I'm like, why was he always sitting next to me? I mean, his last name started with a W, and we always, most classes you said alphabetical order. Anyway, Perez Warren was always probably somewhere sitting next to me, and God rest his soul. I was telling him what I had observed from CNN and the Today Show. And just at that moment, this teacher, who I to this day despise, I hope her TV is stuck on CNN wherever she's at and nobody will turn it. She singles me out. She's like, can you tell everybody in the class what you're talking about that's more important than schoolwork? Not everybody in the class is talking. I mean, you can barely hear yourself thinking it. But she singles me out. And, so I'm like, I got something to tell you anyway. Everybody needs to know this, right? So I go into telling her what happened. 2 helicopters shot down. American soldiers missing, wounded, dead, bodies being desecrated by these Africans. And she stops me. She was like, you being dumb. You don't know what you're talking about. Don't be listening to these white people, and you gonna keep on going and doing what you do and the way you're doing, and she basically calls me stupid, and then she ends it with this. She says you're gonna either be digging ditches for your whole life, or you're gonna be in a ditch for your short life, and I'm just like. That was a Mortal Kombat finishing move right there, I'm devastated. I'm crushed, right? I'm like, who would say that to a kid who actually knew what he was talking about? Who actually understood what he was saying to you, right? Crushed, right? I'm just sitting there you could have knocked me over with a cotton ball. Crushed. So, I'm just sitting there fuming. And, normally in class, when teachers say mean stuff like that to you, everybody in the class laughs at you, blah, 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 blah. But that wasn't the vibe. The vibe was like, that's messed up. That was the whole vibe of the whole class. Didn't nobody laugh. Everybody kind of like put their eyes down and was like, right? And then that's when the devil tries to sneak in. He's like, you know what you should do at the end of this class? You should punch her in the face. Right? Punch her in the face, right? Gave me the pros and cons. It'll make you feel better. You probably, she probably won't press charges if you don't hit her real hard. All this stuff is rolling through my head. And this is how I know that God has to be real. Because in these moments that I'm seriously contemplating punching this chick in the face for, just being disrespectful and rude and mean and, just overall nasty, a cool breeze comes over me. Like, for real. You know what I'm saying? Like a breeze, and it just, like, washed away all my thoughts. You know what I'm saying? Like, gone. Like, I couldn't even, like, for real, like, I couldn't even, like, remember what had been said to me, right? And the rest of the day turned out to be fine after that. It turned out to be one of those, seemed like we had a pizza party in one of the other teachers' classes or something, I don't know. But at the end of the day, it came back on me like a ton of bricks. Boom, right? And, but it came back as motivation. It didn't come back as, anger and all this, what it should have been, what I thought it should have been. It came back as, like, straight up motivation. I went to the library before football practice. I'll never forget. I went to the library, and I got, the library lady, she was a real sweet lady. She was always a real nice, sweet lady. She would let me take pretty much anything I wanted out of the library. I got the Washington Post, I got the New York Times, I got the LA Times, Birmingham newspaper, and I love National Geographic, so I grabbed like 3 or 4 National Geographics. Just because I like to read. I like to read and look at the pictures. Anyway, went to football practice, went home, motivated, right? I never forget we had a computer in our house. This was back when a computer was just there for being there. We had a printer and copier, the whole nine, right? I clipped every article from those newspapers, you know what I'm saying, pasted them on a page with the articles, Shugart and Gordon, it being horrible that this happened and how did this happen, and I wrote like 3 or 4 paragraphs. Well, I typed like 3 or 4 paragraphs, and I made 2 copies of it. I put one in a manila folder, and I snuck into a classroom early that morning, and I put it on a desk, center mass. Please read. Other one's in my backpack. Later in the day, we get to a class, and I'm expecting her to go off. As soon as I walk through the door, I'm expecting her to, to give me the business. Nope, not a word. 10 minutes into the class, 20 minutes into the class, I'm fuming because I'm like, now I'm thinking maybe she just threw it in the trash. Maybe she's illiterate. I don't know. I'm angry now. I'm like, oh, I hate this lady. And just then I looked up and we made eye contact. It was like in a movie. It was like some Kill Bill. It was like some Kill Bill Tarantino going back to the beginning type stuff, right? And she was like, get out of my classroom and go to the office right now. All right? And I was like, okay. All right. And as I'm walking out, she takes my little report and slams it in the trash can. Hard, too, right? Everybody in the class like, Prince, like, what you do? Because I didn't tell nobody. I just did it, right? And it was funny because I went to the principal's office, and the principal at the time was this guy, Principal Lewis, right? And we would always have this banter, hey, Mrs. Lewis, how you doing, Mrs. Lewis? And so I walk in the principal's office, and he's like, hey, what's going on? Why are you in here? And I'm like, Miss Such and Such, she sent me here because she didn't like a paper I wrote. And he was like, what did you write, right? So So I pull out my second copy. He stands there at the countertop and he reads it. And he was like, "Oh yeah, this happened. This happened yesterday. Blah blah blah. Now he's a veteran. And right about then, she comes stumping in. Right? She was like, "I want this boy suspended for at least 5 days for She basically said I called her stupid. What I said was, due to her lack of intelligence of knowing current events that affect the United States, she has failed us as students. That's what was in my little summary." Right? And that's pretty much all she took. That's all she took from my 3 paragraphs. That's all she really took from it, that I called her stupid. She didn't take for the fact that I was trying to relay that, it's important to know current events. Anyway, the principal brings us all into Mr. Lewis brings us all to his office, and he goes into, telling us, you can't be battling out in class like this, right? And she goes on and on and on about how she wants me suspended. And he's like, "I'm not finna suspend this boy." And in fact, he tells me to go back out in the office. And them two went at it for like 15, 20 minutes. Classes had changed and everything. And he basically came out and was like, "Yo, go to whatever your next class is. Here's a note. Beat it." Right? You know what I'm saying? Right? By now, the word that kind of got around that me and this teacher had it out, right? And, people were saying what she had said to me yesterday, and that she was wrong and this, that, and other. Anyway, the day went on. It was a pretty decent day that day, too. And after school, I'm getting ready to go to football practice. I'll never forget my football coach, Coach T. He grabs me, and all these teachers, all the other football coaches, they standing out in the hallway, right? And he goes, he used to always say my whole name, "Reggie Lewis." He said, "Reggie Lewis, did you call that teacher stupid today?" And I was like, "No, I did not." Right? And he was like, "That ain't what I heard." He was like, "I heard it from the horse's mouth." He was like, "I can't stand that bitch." Right? All the other coaches, they just cracking up, right? We're in the hallway. He was like, "Oof." He was like, "I'm glad you stood up to it." I'll never forget this guy. I can't remember his name, but he was like the linebacker coach. And he was like, I used to play like outside linebacker. And he was like, "From now on, you the Mike linebacker." And I'm like, right? Because I didn't really want to play Mike. I like playing Will. Anyway, I never forget that day in practice. As soon as I get out there, first play from scrimmage was like a dive play. And this kid, he played running back. I can't remember his name, but right off the back, I drilled him, right? And everybody's like, "Ooh," right? And he was like, "I told you you're going to be middle linebacker. That's you now," right? And that whole week just was like a good week. We played a game, and I never forget. I can't remember what school it was again. They white and red or something. I don't know. But we played a game, and I intercept the pass across the middle, and I'm running to the end zone on the far right-hand side, and I look back, which is a cardinal sin. Never look back. And, when you're running, I'm 4 or 5 yards from the end zone, and I look back, and I trip and fall and bust my lip. But it was the best week ever, just so you know.